Well, typically the interests and the will of the person guide the advocate. Secondly, the advocate can't be in conflicts of interest. The interests of the person, the vulnerable person, have to prevail. That's their primary responsibility. The third would be that there would be some sense of philosophy about what what is it that people with disabilities should have by way of a good life, and in some cases there'd be additional things. For instance, advocates may also want to advise the person when they need somebody else. That what they really may need is a type of professional to solve something, not the advocate. So the advocate could ask, to press for getting that. So the advocate's really a kind of a problem solver in that regard, and informing people of options. What can you do in a particular situation? And having someone to turn to makes it more likely that their issues will get some attention. For most advocates, it's not something they've done hundreds of times. There may be processes that are formal, where the advocates kind of take advantage of that. Like often organizations will have appeal processes and complaints processes and so on. So these would be formal processes that you might use. But you also may use informal means to resolve advocacy issues. For instance, just an informal conversation with a bureaucrat may be all that it takes to solve something. You don't always have to go to formal procedures to do that. In fact, many people try to settle things informally first and only use these other more formal pathways because they didn't have any luck informally. But this is a judgment call at a point in time. What's our best option, to go before this committee or just do a written submission or see if we can get a meeting with somebody. Could we go to some kind of arbitration or mediation? All of which are, the pros and cons of what's available to you to work through an issue. So it's not uncommon that people use a bit of formal systems to do it. Other times they use informal, wherever their best, wherever they see the best chance of getting some headway. It's not that one or the other is necessarily always the best answer. Philosophically, the bottom lines of an advocate may be very different from the bottom lines of the person they're advocating for. So they may have to agree to things that they wouldn't agree to themselves, but that's what the person's bottom line is. And this is tricky. You can be a kind of advocate for someone, but really think their conclusions are misguided. It's where honesty and transparency and clarity make it possible for people to have a different viewpoint, but sort of understand where the line is. Trade-offs, compromises, and sellouts is a class of decisions. Trade-offs are where you try to optimize everything, and different things constrain other things, but you try to optimize everything as much as possible. The compromise is where you kind of give in too much. There's compromises made. Now you're still going to get something, but you made compromises that maybe you shouldn't have and didn't need to make. And then a sellout is where you don't really care about getting a good decision. You just could care less, or you just, cave in. Whereas if you're hanging tough, you might be able to get a half decent compromise. And if you really are great, it's a great day, you'd get just the trade-off. So again, those are the kinds of categories of decisions that often helps to go through.